There are multidimensional facets of the spiritual path, and the two most popular ones are both manifestation, right, which is typically where people usually enter the spiritual path, or non-duality. In essence, there is plenty more, I understand, but in essence, one that talks about creation and creativity. I mean, not all manifestation actually talks about that, but in essence, it at least should. And one that talks about that there is no manifestation. So we've got one that prioritizes creativity, which requires a manifestation, and another that talks about not creating anything because nothing is even created. How do we reconcile the two? Well, the thing is that the purposes of understanding that what we are is inherently whole and complete, and we share the same being as everyone else, is so that then we are capable of understanding the fabric and substance of reality. Once we understand the fabric and substance of reality, it's like a child being given Play-Doh or Lego. Like, you are left with the thing to create. Prior to that, you don't have the capacity, because you feel like you're a piece of Lego in the creation. How can Lego build Lego? It can't. But once you understand the nature and the substance of the realm in which you seem to experience and exist, there's a possibility to actually create within that realm. And not just creating based on automations and habits and conditioning like the majority of people are doing, to create something truly unique, truly you. You can't create something truly you if you don't know what you are. So what we find is, like, the classic Indian sage, there's typically a very old man, or at least quite old, probably hasn't got much life left to live, regardless of his age, and typically ends up, dying of serious health conditions. The sages that we know and love, they all died of cancer, or, they didn't look particularly healthy, right? I'm saying this lightly, I'm trying to be polite. They didn't look like they worked out, let's put it that way, right? There's a typical neglect in the spiritual, in the deeper, when I say deeper, I mean deeper in the sense of, in the deeper non-dual traditions. If you don't know what non-duality is simply the understanding and recognition there's only one reality and that we share the same being in essence. There's a neglect of the world and there's a neglect of the body. It's not fully integrated. It's a plain simple fact. Whether you disagree with me or not, I could not care less. It is not integrated. What do I mean by integrated? I mean, the understanding of what we are stops there. And it doesn't go back into the world. It doesn't talk about what to then do in the world, because the question would be, well, why do you need to do anything, right? If you're the nature of reality, you've just realized yourself, well, you're unconditionally happy. So what else is there to do? Nothing left to do. This is a very preliminary stage that will eventually be moved on from. Now, being a 28-year-old body, I am filled with inspiration and desire. I'm not just going to sit back and do nothing. I'm going to go play in the playground that we are in. You think I'm just going to sit there and do nothing all day? No. What a waste of life for me, in my personal opinion, in this body mind's 28-year-old personal opinion, right? So it would be a waste for me to not, and actually not just a waste, but it would be a complete denial of my integrity if I resisted the desires that I have in this world. So freedom does not equate not having desires. Freedom equates not needing desires and yet still having them. Not needing anything and yet still having desires. So desires are not the problem. Believing we can get happiness out of desires is the problem. And the belief that we can get happiness out of desires is literally the cycle of suffering that everybody is in. This is where the non-dual path finds its roots, finds its benefit, finds its power. Because then we're not moving and acting and relating in the world based on the belief and therefore filter that we're a primary, essential, limited, finite self, a piece of Lego within the creation. We realize we are the creator of the Lego and everything else included, which is pretty profound. So then you're left in a playbox. And the question is, what do you do with the playbox? Well, now you're in the seat of that question. You can actually ask the question because you now have the capacity to do something within the playbox. Prior to that recognition of what you are, you didn't know what to do about the playbox because you had bigger fish to fry. you had much bigger fish to fry. The bigger fish was you're suffering, you can't think of anything else other than how to get free. So what I want to do is, I don't want to say to people, let's wait to play in the playbox, wait to have fun. It doesn't have to be that way. We can bring the two together. So I titled this something like unless I've changed the title by now, the freedom after freedom. Because this is literally the freedom after freedom. It's to actually create with the world that you are now in, to play in the world that you are now in. Most people, I say most, that's an understatement. I'm talking 99.9% of people do not even realize they can actually have fun. I have 2,500 people in my private community. There is very few people I've spoke to that have actually realized they can have fun in life. It's crazy to think of that. It's like, imagine freedom didn't come with the package of having fun. Now, the beautiful thing is that you don't need to wait to be free, whatever freedom is, to have fun. Children have fun all the time. So the question is, why do we have this belief that we must achieve a certain state in order to then have fun when we are perfectly capable of having fun now? The question all revolves around what fun actually is. We believe fun is it's like a distraction. Yeah, I can either have my spiritual path or I can go and have fun. It's like, they're not different things. What we're usually equating with fun is I can either go and seek the world for happiness, which I know it isn't there, or have my spiritual path. That's true, but this isn't fun. Going out and seeking happiness in the world is literally the opposite of fun. It's called suffering. If you have ever suffered, which guarantee watching this video you absolutely have, any time you've suffered has been when you have tried to find fun in the world. What fun is an expression of freedom. So you don't go and do something to get fun. You're having fun, then you do something. Anytime you've ever had fun, fun has always dawned upon you prior to the event that took place in which you had the fun. It's called happiness. Happiness is not a state or a feeling or a condition. It's the natural condition of our mind. This is why when babies are born, the minute they can walk, talk, or even fart and burp, they're having fun. The instinct of a baby is to go and play. Isn't that profound? Isn't that wonderful? The minute the first thing God does when he's born is go and have fun. It just makes sense. What else would you do? Think about it. If the baby's got everything sorted, food, breast milk, this, that, whatever. Well, I've got nothing else to worry about, may as well go and have fun. At the end of it all, it's about having fun. That's the natural instinct. We see it, if there's any codes or blueprints within experience, which there obviously are, everything is a fractal, everything is a micro of a macro, as within, so without, as below, so with up, whatever the saying goes. It's literally coded into our nature of expressing fun. Fun is an expression of freedom. So with that being said, if fun is an expression of freedom, it makes no sense to equate doing things in the world to having fun. Fun is the already present condition, which we could call happiness. And when we express that happiness in the world, we call it having fun. Now, we usually equate seeking objects to get happiness as me having fun. Me going out becoming a crack addict is me having fun. Me going out and finding a relationship to supplement the suffering that I'm feeling because I'm lonely and depressed and I can't exist possibly longer on my own for longer than 24 hours. That's not having fun. That's not a fun thing to do. That actually comes with a lot of suffering, and it creates a lot of suffering. Nothing that you have had fun doing has ever equated to more suffering. Everything that you've done in order to find fun or find happiness in that thing has always equated to more suffering. So think of it like this. When you decided to pick up that guitar in the pub the other day and play a song, that didn't equate to more suffering. When you decided to take that piano in the restaurant or in the thing and play a little tune, that didn't equate in more suffering. When you decided to rendezvous to the beach and go for a swim because, you know, it was a beautiful day and you just felt like expressing that sense of beauty, that didn't equate to more suffering. However, whenever you went to grab an object in order to get happiness, whenever you entered a relationship in order to fulfill yourself, whenever you tried to find a career in order to fulfill yourself, it always resulted in more suffering. So you can't equate having fun to finding and equating to suffering. You can equate seeking objects in the world to finding more suffering. So what this means is that you already have within you the capacity to have fun, even if you're not awake, even if you're not enlightened, even if you're not free. So the point I'm making is that this has to be significant to you because it changes the whole idea of what freedom is, and it really means that you're already free. So when teachers are saying you're already free, you just need to blah, 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 what we're really saying is your natural condition, you're already experiencing it. You right now and the most enlightened being you can possibly imagine are having the same experience. The difference is the super enlightened being that you imagine to be enlightened isn't limited to believing that they are temporary, limited and finite and in the body. That is not a different perceptual experience. So it's like you think right now, most people, I'm being generalizing here, that you versus the enlightened person's having this exotic, crazy, beyond this earth experience and they can just about fathom the camera's recording because they're so enlightened. And then you're there like just having this normal human experience that's unenlightened and you see the waves crashing and the camera's playing and there's a guy running and the clouds are looking lovely. You think that's the unenlightened experience. No. There's no such thing as the guy having this crazy, exotic, enlightened experience that's different from you. It's the same one. The enlightened person is sitting there looking at the clouds thinking what a beautiful day it is. Oh, look, there's lots of sand and there's a person running. You see? The difference is the awakened one isn't believing they're fundamentally real and that I am in the body looking at them. I have the experience of being there, but I am not really there. In essence, where am I? I'm nowhere. I'm just simply here, the same place you are, you see? So what we need to do is we have to take away that freedom comes with a phenomenal change in experience. The change in experience, things change, but not in the way you think they do. Things change in the fact that you start having more fun. Your life becomes more receptive to creativity. Your life becomes easier. There's still challenges. The idea that there's no challenges after awakening is a load of nonsense. I've sat now with hundreds of people. That's not that many. Compared to probably the amount I will sit with over the past 2.5 years, I've sat with hundreds of people. I've heard a lot of things about different teachers, things that they've seen, popular teachers that you know about. There's open videos on it. There's people under FBI investigations, right? You've probably been to some of their retreats. What I'm putting out there is the lay of the land of teachers are far from perfect. Far from perfect. So if you think you have to be one of them, well, you already are, right? If you think you have to get to this level, that level's created from super importance. And what that basically is that you have an idea of a teacher that is more awakened than they are, and you feel like you've got to achieve that state. And a lot of the times that comes from teachers hiding their imperfections, not intentionally, subconsciously. And when you hide these imperfections, what happens is the people observing that teacher see a perfect image of that teacher. And with a perfect image comes a crack. The minute you create a perfect image, the image will crack. And what that crack looks like is you getting disappointed in them. This is a whole other topic. I've got another video on this. I just want to put this out there, that the lay of the land, the bar's not as high as you think, you see? This means that you don't have to be perfect in order to be free. So if you don't have to be perfect in order to be free, you may as well start right now accepting your silly, playful, imperfect human conditions, because they're not going to go. And the more you try to make them go, literally you could argue the less enlightened you are, the less awakened you are. Because all the people who are succumb to ignorance are literally in a cycle of trying to change themselves. So the goal to see right now, and this is going to help you create yourself, is that the goal is not to look at yourself and finally see that you have absolutely no problems, that you are absolutely systematically sound from crown to root, from head to toe. The goal is to be capable of looking crown to root and head to toe and observing with as much love as you possibly can, even if the thing you see seems to be ugly. Even if the thing you see seems to be unawakened, the most enlightening thing you can do for yourself and for anybody else is to be capable of looking at yourself with complete, forgiving, loving eyes. And that takes radical self-honesty, because most people do not want to admit to themselves that they are less awakened than they are. Most people want to know that they've made progress, but at the be-all, end-all, you're going to get to a point where you're going to look at yourself and go, it's like I've never heard a word of wisdom in my life. You're going to look at yourself and go, it's like I've been deaf and blind for the past 20 years, because look at me. And what you'll do is you go, oh, I'm seeing more of myself than I'd previously seen. And then you start to learn to accept that part of you. That part of you that you see is imperfect, unenlightened, unawakened, doesn't understand a thing, is clueless, doesn't, just is completely and utterly helpless. You'll start to love that side of you. That side of you is what you've been looking to see this whole time. Because in order to see that side of you, in order to truly see that side of you, you have to see it with the eyes of love. And the minute you're looking at yourself with the eyes of love is the minute you're looking from the goal. So the goal is not to change the things. The goal is to see the things without needing to change them. Now, what you'll find is that there will be genuine things that you'll want to change. I'm not saying you don't keep hygiene, right? You don't keep a psychological hygiene, right? Just like you clean your body, you brush your teeth, hopefully you floss your teeth. If you don't, you need to start flossing right now. And you keep a psychological hygiene. So in the same way that you clean your bed sheets, to the same extent, you will clean the energy of your mind. You won't do things that are intentionally unhealthy for you. You see? You'll give love and respect to the body. Now, from this place, you can truly start to create yourself. What does that mean, to create yourself? It means to think of your soul as having a unique signature. Now, this unique signature, it doesn't have physical qualities. It has energetic vibes. It has energetic feelings, unmanifest potential. And the thing we love doing as God is taking something that we cannot experience and experiencing it. Because that process is the true creative process. We're taking something that does not exist and we're bringing it to life. We're taking something not in life and we're bringing it to life and experiencing it and enjoying what we experience. Think of everything we love about life on a material level: games, movies, films, acting, things that require an unmanifest thing becoming manifest into a parameter of boundaries, and then we sit in those boundaries and limitations and just exist and enjoy it. That's life. That's what we love doing. That's why we love doing it in this body mind too. It's a micro of a macro. So when we think, I'm done, I'm spiritually enlightened, I'm done, nothing left to do, nothing left to say, there's everything left to do and everything left to say. What we know of the non-dual traditions or the spiritual path is a fraction, not even a fraction of what is left to do in the totality of existence. It's a comfortable thought to think that there's nothing left to do. It's a lovely, comfortable, there's nothing left to do. Yay, no more stress, no more worries, because doing things with stress and worry, that's limited happiness. If the fact you had to do things gives you relief, then you haven't found unconditional happiness. Your happiness is very much still conditional. It's conditioned on, I don't have to do things. Do you realize you're in a physical body? Or at least to this extent, experiencing one? The whole premise is that you have to do things. The question is, who is doing it and why? So in order to create ourselves, we have to enter this radical self-honesty. Because the more that we deny the parts of ourselves that we deem imperfect, the more we prevent the signal from seeing the parts of ourselves that are. And what we want to do is take this unique signature and bring it into life. And this looks like living a reality that is so perfectly aligned to you as a personal individual. I know, I'm using personal individual. But aren't we not an individual? This is the thing we have to reconcile. The purpose of realizing non-duality, the purpose of realizing that you are literally one with everything, is to then go, great, now that I know that, let's now enjoy my life as an individual with universal intelligence. So we have to get used to accepting and living within relative realities. The typical non-dual traditions, they reject relative, well, they don't necessarily reject them. Kashmir Shaivism definitely doesn't, and I have a lot of, I've gained a lot of wisdom and insight from that. I've gained a lot of wisdom and insight from Advaita Vedanta too. But what we want to start doing is bringing this into this modern day and age and understanding where the two align and how we reconcile knowing that I am not an individual entity with then experiencing an individual experience. And we do this by understanding the purpose of non-duality is to fully experience duality. And once we give ourselves permission to experience duality, then we are literally in the universal creation station. That sounds, I don't like that. Universal creation station. The universal, we are in the infinite sandbox of possibility. And this life is as though, I could be completely wrong, I don't really care if I'm right or wrong. But the way I like to think about it is that it is like this life is teaching us, this is an opportunity to learn in forensic detail how to give love and acceptance and wonder to very small things. It is literally to have the capacity to develop compassion, which is compassion is the intelligence of love. Compassion is the way we communicate love to different levels where it can be received, right? We've all tried to give love in our lives and not always has it been received because it hasn't been met with compassion. We haven't had compassion, which is the intelligence and understanding to communicate love in a way that it can be received. So we have this lesson here where we're learning to communicate love to ourselves. Because in order to create with purity, in order to create with effortless ease, if we're preventing that from happening because we keep judging what we create and judging what is created and judging what that completely denies the signal. We cannot get the energetic code and therefore we cannot embody it and bring it into the world. So what does embodying it and bringing it into the world mean? So let me give you an example with my life. My life, if you think of this is the way I like to think about it. This comes from the Vedantic tradition, but it's influenced with the way I've experienced it too. So if you think of Dharma as like a road, the road of Dharma. Dharma is just your path, your next evolutionary step from where you're sitting right now to where you'll look in the next 1 second. From that to that to that, imagine that, just non-stop. Next evolutionary step, that is your Dharma, and it's like a road. And if you go off that road, you exit Dharma, you go into karma. Karma pushes you back onto the road. So every time you go off, there's a correcting force that brings you back. That is just undeniable. Everybody's experienced it, whether they like it or not. So once you get used to driving on the road of Dharma, eventually you experience Kriya, which is effortless flow or effortless ease. What that means is you are on the road for long enough that you stop driving off the road. You're like, oh, now I get the sense now. This is an invisible road. Now you kind of feel the parameters of the road. You're not driving off it all the time. Oh, if you start to negate off, you're able to navigate, navigate with your awareness, which requires self-honesty, radical self-clarity, to take truthful views of ourselves, not comfortable views of ourselves, right? We surround ourselves with the comfort of partially true beliefs. We want to surround ourselves with accurate perceptions, not cute, lovely beliefs, right? So this will help us stay on track on that road. Now, this is the creation road. You can't create when you're living in karma, when you're in the process of being corrected, because the only job is to get back to the place you can create. So when you're on this path of Dharma, you're going to know, because you're not going to be constantly being corrected all the time. You're going to have opportunity and possibility. So on the Dharma road, opportunity and possibility. If you've been on the karma curb for too long, right, driving off the beaten track into the wildlife, your bandwidth of Dharma will be very thin. So in other words, you don't have much wiggle room. So an example for me was when I was on my travels. I had this dose of inheritance money, so I had parameters, right? I had a massive is an understatement, traumatizing kind of awakening experience, which then gave me psychosis, which then forced me to do nothing else other than focus on my spiritual path entirely, every second of every minute of the day. And that just put me right, it was a massive karma that brought me right into Dharma. Then I was left with the inheritance money, opportunity to go and follow that road. And there was, I wasn't very good at it. I had a lot of karma pushing me back, in many, many places. And eventually I got used to it. I go, oh, I kind of get it now. And before I went off the karma curve, I'd go, oh, no, I know, I felt this. I can feel it now. Before I have to get bumped by life, I'm now developing the sensitivity to know that I'm going off track and to self-correct. So what we're learning is to drive. We're learning to drive, which means you're learning to live life. Now, what you're also learning at the same time, as I was going through the process, is surrendering my individual identity. So in the same time, I'm surrendering my individual identity to universality, which means that the more I surrender this individual driver that wants to go, no, but I like this hill, let's go over there, right? Just going every detour that does not serve it in any way, shape or form, just going, but the happiness is over here. No, happiness is over here, right? I'm driving everywhere off the beaten track. So I'm getting constantly pushed and slapped and nudged by life to get back on track again, right? We want to learn to self-correct. Now, I could have self-corrected had I been more honest with myself when I'm driving off the curb to do the thing that is not aligned to me whatsoever and is me, in essence. This is what hitting the karma curb is. I believe happiness is over there, so I'm going to drive off the bloody road to get it. That's basically what it means. So when you realize that, parallel to surrendering your individual identity is less need to find happiness on the karma curb. To less need to drive off the road, because you are content and happy with the direction you're going, because you are surrendering the individual need to control where you're going. So correspondingly to the path of Dharma is corresponding to our realization that happiness is the nature of our mind and not somewhere off on the karma curbs. As we go through that process, this then took me to my travels and firstly therapy and God knows what. And then it took me to my travels where then I started to deeply seek again. I started to deeply go off the karma curb because it was like I had this newfound freedom, but the more I sought, the more I was seeking, which took me to Japan and India to search for the guru that both rejected me and told me to go home. The guru was my off the beating track search, which then I was getting slapped by the guru saying, not slapped literally, but metaphorically, to go home again, which was disheartening. It was like, what? That's not my road. Home is not my road. This is my road. This ashram, this cave, just send me where to go. I'll be there. You see, as long as it gets me free and enlightened at the end of it. So this whole thing was the karma curve pushing me back. And because of that, I obviously did go home. And then I had no money. So I'm back on the Dharma, but because I was so long on the karma, I now have limited resource. I'm back on a small bandwidth again. So as I learned this, the karma curve expanded and expanded and expanded, you see? And the more I surrendered my individual identity, and which basically means accepting death radically, radical acceptance of death, right? There's no other way around it. You get more opportunity, more flexibility, and the road widens. So technically speaking, you could be going off the beaten track for a couple of days, and all of a sudden you realize in the third day, no. You see? Now, because of this flexibility, I'm on the Dharma road. And once you're on the Dharma road for a while, you get what's called Kriya. Kriya is your effortless ease. So now, I can do whatever I want. There's just no holding me back. And it's easy. You see? Now I'm in the place of creative inspiration, which synonymously is about being in the unknown. It's about complete radical acceptance of the unknown, which synonymously is about being in the now. The now is literally the hub of the unknown. Where do things come from? They don't come out of the then, they don't come out of the before, because before and then is already there. They come out of the now, the only place you can come from. And that is where pure creativity comes from. It's how you speak to people without knowing what words are going to come out of your mouth, but it all comes out in perfect equilibrium. I don't even know if that made sense. On the runtime, I'm talking about perfect language. So the purpose is, living in the now is synonymous with pure creative freedom, which is synonymous with surrendering individual identity, which is synonymous with freedom. And from that place, we have the opportunity to create what we want in life, truly want. And most people are shy from that. They don't believe they deserve what they want in life, which is another element of the path in which we really would love and would appreciate to be finding that it is not true. We deserve the best. So there are elements of psychological hygiene, which I highly recommend everyone take part in, which is to correct any form of limiting belief that they have around anything towards the world that limits them. So anything around money, relationships, anything about yourself, these aren't things that disappear when you have an awakening experience. You could have 20,000 awakening experiences. They don't disappear. They require your active engagement. So there's a saying with God. It's, God, please help me make money, the man prays. Please help me make money. I need to make money. I need to make money. I need money. Please, please give me the money. I trust you'll give it to me, God. I trust you'll get me the money there. I'm going to go now. Thank you so much. I know you've heard my prayers. I'll continue with my day. A week goes by. He says, God, where's my money? God, where's my money? What are you doing? Please give me my money. Anyway, I'm going to go back to work now, and I'll see you soon. 2 months go by. God, I'm so disappointed. You haven't given me my money yet. Where is my abundance of money? God says, are you kidding me? You've been having the desire to buy that lottery ticket all week and you didn't do anything about it. You see? We have to do something about it. If we have the desire comes from universal intelligence, and it has to be met with conscious perception. Frontal lobe conscious perception, not subconscious. Desire comes from subconscious. That's our universal intelligence manifesting into form in the form of a desire. Desire is an energy and an impulse that we use to go and do the thing with our will and intent. We have to willfully intent the action to then go and get the lottery ticket. Most people don't do that. Why? Because there's a belief. I do not want a lottery ticket, or because I am not worthy of having one, or lottery tickets are dumb, or lottery tickets are this, or whatever belief it might be. It also could be fundamentally we don't believe we are able to receive that much abundance because we don't feel like we're worthy. So we can want a lot of money, for example, but we could literally have a belief that says, I want a lot of money, but I do not believe I'm worthy of receiving it because I am not good enough and I have to work hard for money. I have to do these certain things for money. If I get money from without doing good things, I'm a bad person for accepting it. So we could have the desire. God would be like, yep, there you go, lottery ticket desire, it's right there. And you just go, yeah, but I don't think I want to go for that. So that's also a possibility that we'll run into. So you need to actively have mental hygiene. Like you need mental hygiene, which means to look at the beliefs that aren't true, that are lingering and dingling around, and correct them intentionally. How do you do that? You look at them, you look at the belief, and you say, is this true? If it's not, you don't believe it. But there's deeper than that. So I'll give you a quick example. We're going to move on, and then we're going to finish up this video. If you get a belief that says, I believe I have to work hard for money. That's what you realize. Look at my life right now. The life is this way because this is what I believe. Well, you look at it and you say, well, it makes sense because if I believe I have to work hard for money, I'm not just going to receive money without working hard because I'll reject it. So then the next question is, well, what does it mean to work hard? And what does it mean to make money? You look at the intricate the intricates of that sentence. What does working hard mean? Is that true? Is my definition of working hard true? My definition of working hard might mean I have to do something I don't enjoy for money. Working hard means doing something I don't love. Oh, but that's not true. Working hard I can work hard for something I do love and I'll enjoy that. So then it makes, working hard for money might actually be a true belief based on that perspective, because I want to work hard doing something I enjoy for money, and therefore I will create it. That might be easier than just trying to think I don't have to work for money at all, because you might think, no, because I do have to work for money. So then the question is, how hard? What do you do, right? Well, I work a little bit hard. Why do you work a little bit hard? Oh, because I don't really love the thing I do. Well, if you did love the thing you do, you might work harder, right? So you have to look at all the landscape of these beliefs intricately and do some mental flossing with them, right? This is just basic hygiene standard. We should all be doing. I thought it was innate, but I spoke to my residency recently, and a lot of people didn't know about this, so it's very important to do. When we are on this path of Dharma, on the path of Dharma, experiencing Kriya, we are in the creation mode. Now, the creation mode is extremely important. Most people want to cling to knowledge. If you cling to knowledge, that's basically like the equivalent of saying, I do want to go to your house, but I'm scared that I might not arrive, so I'm going to go to the supermarket instead because it's closer. Yes, I know we're supposed to meet at your house at 3, but on the way, sorry, I got scared that I wouldn't arrive, so on the way, I took a taxi that I know and love from Philip, my taxi driver, and he took me over to this other restaurant that we're not even going to. Because, yes, well, the reason was because I found it more comfortable. Because I was walking for so long, and all of a sudden I got a little bit scared because I wasn't there yet, and I didn't get to your house in time, and I got a little bit too scared, so I took the comfortable taxi driver that I know well and trust to the comfortable restaurant that I already know. That's literally what most people do with their entire life. They don't wait to receive. They wait 2 days, and all of a 1 week, and all of a sudden they go, yeah, I don't like this anymore. Let me go back to my old job. Let me go back to my old relationship. So on this path to create ourselves, the primary modes that we are looking for is to both surrender individual will, right, which means my need to control everything. We want to surrender our individuality, which is the belief that I'm inside the body located as a temporary finite self. We want to let go of the need to cling to previous knowledge and memory and comfortable things. And we want radical self-honesty. Now, if you combine all of these things, it is a recipe for something that you currently cannot even comprehend. Your life would be so fun, so beautiful, so profound. There would be so much freedom and flexibility. At first, you literally, and I say this from experience, would not know what to do with it. You'd sit there and go, where do I begin? Like, where do I start? This is the experience I had because everything I'm sharing with you right now, all my direct experience, right? There's some other things to it, but we're 30 minutes into the video. These are the core things. I sat there and I was like, where do I begin? It's like having a feast and going, do I start with this or this? But I kind of love dessert. Do I eat the dessert first? It's pure abundance. And look, everything I've shared, you didn't have to do a thing. The action comes from everything that I've shared with you. But that's the easy part. The part that you need to focus on is the thing you can just do at any time of the day. It's sitting wherever you are, whatever you're doing. So if you're interested in this type of teaching, this type of path, everything that I share, I have a free community where you can learn more. There's hundreds of meditations in there, all for free. We do calls every week. So yeah, the beautiful place. I specifically talk about the creative abundance in my private program, but I only introduce my private program to people who've been in my free community first and actually showed that they are committed to understanding this. Anything left to say? If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Thank you for being here. I'll see you all soon. See you on the road, see you on the Dharma, see you on the path. Take care.